Welcome back to another video, guys. Wanted to kind of talk about what my plans are for the 2024 season, what deer I'm potentially going to be chasing, and what I'm changing on my properties going into this year. You know, every year is a learning experience. You know, you do something different and see how the deer react, and you're constantly fine-tuning things. So in this particular property, it's 55 acres. It's not a big piece. It's got probably about 5 acres of tillable on it, 4 in this field, another acre on the other end. This is still a permission piece. I do have the first chance to buy down the road, but currently it's still a permission piece. And the landowner is finally gracious enough to allow me to, work the back 4 acres here with food and different things like that. So last year was sort of an experiment with this layout, how I wanted to lay things out. And to be honest, the food plot game, I'm still pretty green at it. You know, I've planted a lot of plots over the years, but it's not something I have dialed in yet. So the bedding on this property is prime. I mean, I've hunted it for, I think this will be the 6th year now. And last year was the first year that I had food on it. And even on the years I didn't have food, it was just a giant buck magnet. It was constantly pulling in big deer. And that's without using corn piles. And that was just simply due to the amount of bedding on the property, the security cover, and the browse in that property. So last year I added food to it. I put in about 2 acres of corn and then about an acre of brassicas. The deer responded to it pretty well. It was kind of an off year with the acorn mass producing so much. They didn't hit the corn until later, more like December, and the brassicas didn't get hit a whole lot. But one of the things I experienced was where I had does bedding tighter to this field at times, with adding food now, kind of pushed deer back a little bit. And I still had, the deer I was after bedding on my property occasionally, but he was also bedding on some of the neighboring points, staged off of this food a little ways off. So after talking to a few guys, regarding some of this field still has, kind of a hard edge. It's just food, mowed around the edges, and then solid timber. And so, the deer don't feel super comfortable bedding right up against that open field. So after talking to a few guys, I'm actually going to be cutting my food down in about half. I'm going to have just under 2 acres total and adding about 2 acres of switch. And a lot of that is going to be on the wood side of things. And then there's also a cove I opened up back into a staging area, where I have a blind. We'll look at that a little bit later in the video, but that is where this deer was coming out quite a bit. So this is a 4-year-old that I was able to find one side off of, and I watched this deer basically from velvet all the way up until he dropped, and he was on the property very consistently. But being a 4-year-old, I passed him one time and didn't really hunt him through the rest of the year. Had a lot of daylight pictures of him on this property. He's constantly on here. But one of the areas that he's constantly coming up, staging out of the bedding area, popping up, we have kind of a secluded area back in there, and I'm going to be planting that in switchgrass in hopes that he's super comfortable working his way out, feeling like he's still in some security cover before he makes his way out into the eventual food source here. So kind of wanted to walk through the layout of this field, and I'll show that, just with some maps and stuff. But one of the things I'm changing is I'm going to try, if I can, to kill this deer out on the edge versus going back into the back end of this 55 acres or even in the middle of it where that staging area is at. And I can access that if I need to, but I'm gonna basically use this field and the way the different points work out to basically sit on this fence line. And there's just a big destination ag out above me here, but these points jut out to where it funnels the deer down in multiple spots to basically 30 yards or less. And I can come in on the outsides of this, and this will all be switchgrass in here, and basically climb up in a tree and never, be leaving any ground scent in an area where the deer are gonna walk. I think, if he did anything like he did last year, I can pick him off here in October on the outside edges of these without ever intruding into the property. And so that's sort of my goal. I'm still gonna have a set on the back end of the property. It's a phenomenal rut funnel. It's just a fun spot to hunt. But I plan to basically all of the timber completely stay out of, and I got about 3 different spots on this destination field where, as they work through, and it naturally just sort of flows as they walk around this, where I should be able to get a shot in one of those sections where it pinches down. So today, the project I'm working on, I'm gonna be disking up the field from the standing corn from last year, prepping that. I'm gonna be planting soybeans and clover is going to be the two things I'm going to be putting in, a little bit of alfalfa as well. So I'm excited to get this project rolling, and I'm already excited for this fall. So I'm going to hop on the tractor and get rolling. So we're at one of the spots here where this field really pinches down. Just got done disking the field up, and you can kind of see the area here that where it really pinches down. This is the point that juts out, a ravine that goes down through here, and it forces all the deer up around here. There's a pretty good sycamore tree that I can get up in. I'm up here over my shoulder, and that'll present a 25, 30 yard shot. I can slip out, the backside of this fence row to get out then. So I think from what I experienced this last year, a lot of these deer didn't necessarily, come out. They're not just sitting at one spot feeding. Oftentimes they're moving through this field until dark, and then they're working out to these destination egg fields. Hopefully we can capitalize on the buck coming up and working his way around here, and being up here where it pinches him down and never having to set foot on the interior of the property, being able to sit on the perimeter. Up on the other end, further out this line, I'm going to be doing the same thing, but I'm going to be utilizing switchgrass in those areas to pinch the deer down to where the food will actually pinch down itself, and again, taking away some of that field, turning it into a switch, and the idea there being, presenting again a 25, 30 yard shot, being able to sit on this far end of the line. So I'm excited to see how some of these changes change the way the deer react and the way they utilize this, and hopefully it's going to present a little bit cleaner access and hands off on the property, and still being able to get a shot at whatever mature buck is using this area. So we're back here in this staging area. Last year it was basically just a path coming back here, and that opened up to this little opening here. The deer really came, worked off the bedding, had the wind in their favor on a north wind. It'd work up, hit a mock scrape, and I had a tree stand there. The problem is there's a big stand of pines over here, and whenever I hunted this on a northwest, which is what I needed, the wind would whip up over those tall pines and basically swirl on the back side of that where I was sitting. So I had issues, being winded in that area. So what I've done this year is I opened this area up, and I want to get some more native grasses in this property. And so we're turning about a third, a little bit better, maybe more like half an acre, into switchgrass here. And that'll be a nice, you might have some does bedding in this, but you're also going to have much more comfortable for the deer to walk through here. And then we'll probably have one path coming through here to this scrape tree over my shoulder. That'll present about a 25 yard shot from the blind behind me. That blind is going to be sealed off and closed. I don't have to worry about being smelled or anything like that. But again, repeating, I'm hoping to pick off this deer on the outside edges of this. This is more so going to be if I'm having trouble getting him to commit to the food source in daylight, but I'm getting him back here in the staging area. I'll come back in here and hunt him there. I'm confident about my ability to come in here, but I don't want to have to hunt this repeatedly with it being a little bit tighter to bedding. And then, like I said, I also have a stand on the far back of the property, down on the bottom, on the back side of bedding. 1st of November, I'll probably hunt that a time or two if I haven't killed my target deer by that point. But again, the hope is that I can suck all these deer further out along the edge and not have as much food in close to the bedding. Now that being said, some scenarios it makes sense to have food closer to bedding, but with a property like this, if I can secure the food that's further out, make the deer feel far more comfortable walking to that, I don't think it'll be an issue, but I have seen in the past where, you know, if you've got a smaller property or don't have much to work with, if you can get that clover plot, you know, tucked up tight to bedding, as long as you have good access, it makes for some incredible hunting, and have had a lot of success over the years utilizing those secluded plots with blinds like this. So right here we're standing in one of the spots that my target deer consistently was hitting, and this is that staging area again on the bottom side here. And you can see on the map how everything kind of pinches down to this spot. And that's, you know, why I have the blind there. And even if they utilize this trail that's on the bottom side of me, I should be able to get a shot before they would hit my ground scent coming up. So it gives a lot of options up here. A lot of this property pinches down to this spot. And I think it's a spot that I can probably kill my target deer in the, you know, years to come, especially, you know, if we're secluding the food plot up front a little bit more so, and just having the deer feel more comfortable utilizing the property in daylight without having to intrude whatsoever on the bulk of the property. Thanks again for watching. We'll keep you guys updated as we continue to do projects on this property. A lot of this property is pretty dialed in outside of the food source and stuff, and refiguring some of that. So we'll bring you along on this coming summer as we plant, and we'll have a playlist dedicated to the 2024 season. And hopefully I'll have a cameraman with me this fall, and we should be able to get some documentation of some of these hunts that we have this fall. So I'm excited about that, and we'll see you in the next one.